Thank you for taking the time to learn more about the peer review and selection process for the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program application. My name is Catherine Matto, and I'm the Application and Selection Lead for the U.S. Scholar Program. Let's start from what happens after the application is submitted. You'll receive an email confirming your application was submitted successfully. If either recommendation letter hasn't been submitted yet, you'll also receive an email when it is. IIE conducts a preliminary screen of applications for program eligibility and technical completeness. If any required application component is missing, you'll receive an email from us asking for additional documentation. Only eligible and complete applications will be forwarded to peer review. Peer review committees are organized by discipline and evaluate the applications in that discipline. This means a group of peers in your discipline will evaluate your application. Peer reviewers represent the diversity of the program, including academics and professionals located across the U.S. Many are Fulbright alumni and have had grants in countries around the world. They bring varying perspectives, experience, and expertise, and they all review the applications using the posted review criteria. They will read and assess your application to determine whether or not to recommend it for further consideration by the host country, the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board, and the U.S. Department of State. IIE then notifies you of the outcome following peer review. You'll receive an email letting you know an update is available regarding your application, and you'll log into your application to view the update in the letter that is posted. If your email address changes, please be sure to update your application. If your application was recommended in peer review, then it will move on to the selection process. If your application was not recommended in peer review, then it will not proceed to this next step, nor will it be considered for another award. So applications that were recommended in peer review are then forwarded to the host country. So the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Embassy, also known as a post, or the Binational Fulbright Commission, as well as the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board and the U.S. Department of State review the applications. Our colleagues abroad also use the posted review criteria, though they may consider additional factors in their review, such as geographic location of the host institutions to ensure that Fulbrighters are placed all around the country and not just in capital cities. That is just one example of an additional factor that the host country may consider. So what about the host institution? Applicants may ask if and when they can be in touch with the host country or host institution, or maybe their host is asking them, and we appreciate that enthusiasm. Please know that some host countries work with host institutions in the selection process. This is typically for the awards where the host institution is specified in the award title. You are welcome to let your proposed host know if your application was recommended following peer review, but please help us to maintain the integrity of the review process. If your application was recommended for further consideration after peer review, please do not contact the host country or proposed host for updates on the status of your application. That brings us to the selection decision. For this, we need approvals from all three bodies, the host country, the board, and the State Department before we can notify you. This takes some time. And as with the peer review decision, you'll receive an email letting you know an update is available. For those selected, the details of the award will be finalized, including the host institution, dates, and award length. And for some countries, an orientation may be scheduled for applicants selected for grants. So what criteria are used to evaluate the applications? This is an outline of the criteria, and the full list can be found on our website. During peer review, applications are not reviewed against each other. Instead, applications are reviewed against the criteria. So let's walk through them. For the first, reviewers consider the training, academic background, professional preparation, and experience that you bring to the project that you propose. Reviewers expect the CV or resume will be different for different career profiles, career paths, and across disciplines. Basically, are you prepared to carry out the project and to adapt it if needed? If language proficiency is needed, do you have the necessary skills or an alternative solution? Next, the quality of the project. Is the project original and innovative? Is it designed well, considering obstacles you might encounter along the way? Is it feasible or maybe too ambitious? For teaching, consider your syllabi. Do they represent your teaching experience and pedagogy? Are they developed sufficiently for reviewers to assess this? And if you're proposing research, is the methodology explained and considered sound for your discipline? Does the bibliography support your stated need for the project? And segueing right into impact, outcomes, and benefits, does the application demonstrate the project will contribute to the discipline? What is the potential for impact? Will it be sustainable? Meaning, will the project have a longer-term impact and benefit? What do you expect to learn from the experience, and how will you share it? Finally, the cultural piece, because Fulbright isn't just about the project. Why this country? How will you engage with a host institution and community? How adaptable, collegial, and culturally sensitive are you? And are you prepared to serve as an unofficial cultural ambassador for the US? Now, if you've received a Fulbright Scholar Award previously, you additionally need to provide compelling justification for another award. Preference is given to those who have not had a Scholar Award previously, especially in the last 10 years. The U.S. Department of State and WIA IIE strive to ensure that the Fulbright program reflects the diversity of U.S. society and societies abroad. We encourage the involvement of veterans and people from traditionally underrepresented audiences in all our grants, programs, and other initiatives. So I've explained the process, but how can you better prepare your application to go through it? Well, first, the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program is a competition. We do not divulge the number of applications received nor recommended for the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program, nor can we predict the chances of being awarded a grant. And there's not a formula for a successful application. The application from an artist proposing a research project will look and feel different compared to one from an engineer proposing to teach. But there are some common characteristics. The whole application works as a package, where each of the components supports the others, and they work together to address the review criteria. So the proposed project is original and innovative and feasible, and the CV or resume conveys that the applicant has the expertise to carry the project out and that they can disseminate the results. The project will contribute to the host institution, to their discipline, and to their home institution and community. The applicant displays cultural awareness and preparation, which is also supported by their recommendation letters, who also address their expertise. The materials have been proofread and there's not too much jargon. Fulbright has just one L. You might ask a peer to read your project statement to ensure it answers any questions reviewers might have. If those who read your application aren't sure about what you meant, they might come to a different conclusion than what you intended. Also consider having a colleague in another field read your project statement to make sure it's also clear and understandable to non-experts. And finally, it should be authentically you. Other questions we receive from applicants include, does my project or discipline make sense for this country? Well, if the award is open to your discipline, then it could well make sense, but you need to do some homework to contextualize the project. Why is this country a good location for this project? How will the host institution benefit? And what do you anticipate learning? For example, let's say you're interested in teaching structural engineering in a particular country, but you learn it's located on multiple earthquake fault lines. And then you learn that institutions there might have greater expertise than we do here. This information could shift the focus or purpose of your project, perhaps from being the expert to being a collaborator who is willing to learn from others. We're also asked about tips for other application components, including the project statement and invitation letters, and I recommend listening to our short videos on those as well. So what happens if your application is not successful? Again, this is a competition. Not all applications will be recommended in peer review, and not all recommended applications will be selected. Every year, there are strong applications that are not selected. I'll note that an application that was recommended in peer review is not guaranteed to be selected and approved. Applicants frequently ask if they can receive feedback from the peer review and selection processes. And per program policy, we do not provide reviewer comments or other feedback, but we can work with you. My colleagues on our outreach team can meet with you to discuss your application, the review process, the review criteria, and the application requirements to help strengthen your application if you wish to reapply. Applications are reviewed individually on their own merit each year, so your status from a prior competition would not be taken into account by peer reviewers. There isn't a formula for reapplying either. Some applicants choose to revise and strengthen their prior proposal. Others opt to propose an entirely new project. And some choose the same location and others choose a different location. It's really for you to decide how you want to proceed. But our experience is that reapplying can yield success. We hope this overview of the peer review and selection process provides you with a better understanding of how applications are reviewed and helps you to prepare your application. Thank you for joining us.